Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess, and you smell nice today. Is that lavender? But last night we did a live stream and we went in on the RoseCraft Blades Pocket Monster. So let's get our preamble out of the way because it'll bother you if I don't. And first things first, and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. It's reversible. We have got some bright green G10, we have got a thumb stud, and we got a front flipper, so let's flick the front. 2.75 inches of RPM 9 steel, and that's your lot. So, if you missed the first couple of videos, we'll get that knocked out real fast. I carried this for a week. It did fantastic for that carry. It was a great EDC blade. Just the utility on it was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. These things are $30 on the RoseCraft website right now. I will drop a link for that in case you want to pick one up. And it was definitely interesting. Cardboard Slayer was interesting. So, we had been waiting on this for a while, and Andy Armstrong, God bless him, at the RoseCraft booth, he gave me one to give away, and he said, just thrash this thing. So we thrashed it. We gave her, 4? And, so the RPM 9 steel is not something I messed with before, so I didn't really know what to expect going into it. I really didn't. But we started at around, and by the way, when I first got this out of the box and I did the unboxing and all that, or not the unboxing, the first impression video, what have you, I popped it on the sharpness tester, and we got 128 on that edge, which is very good. But we went in there at 5 o'clock and started after that week of carry. It was at 193. All right, and we got to cutting, and it struggled. Like, we were having to push so hard to get through those cuts, and it was having such a hard time getting those cuts managed and clean. Like, it was very intermittent. It was a ton of struggle, and we got to like 22 minutes in, still struggling. And I got what I thought might have been a dull spot on the belly right here, so we stopped and stropped it real good. We went back in after it was stropped, and it came out of the gate, kind of swinging. We had to push pretty hard to get through that. And then at about 6 o'clock or so, we stopped. And I took out the precision adjust, and I started feeling around to see what the angle of the edge was. And I kept moving it around because I was thinking, maybe it's 20 degrees. That might be why. No. 22? No. 18? No. And it finally made full contact with the edge bevel at 25 degrees. So we had 25 degrees per side on the edge, which is probably why it wasn't cutting that well to begin with. That is a very obtuse angle. But that's also, as well as it cut the plastic off of the pallets at work, as well as it did everything I needed it to do at work, my assumption is that edge was put on there for retention. That edge is going to take forever to really mess up. Like, it'll take a long time to mess that up. And if that's the same kind of edge they had on the Tarkanis that they gave a scab of Require Boys Outdoors, that is why it took so long for him to need to sharpen it. An edge like that, and, I have been spoiled. I have been spoiled by the kind of edges I like to put on knives myself. I have been spoiled by the kind of edges I've been getting on other knives that I've bought, other things that aren't quite designed to beat on that hard. But, when I go online and look and I'm trying to find, optimal sharpening angles for some knives and steels, the first thing that comes up is 20 to 25 degrees on that edge. It's a very obtuse edge, but it's also one that won't be broken down quickly. It's not going to chip out. It's going to be hard to make it roll. I believe that's what happened there. I believe that edge was put there to be designed, by design, to be very hard to mess up. I'd love it if someone from RoseCraft, Andy or Swags, who designed this, could drop by and kind of shed some light on that. I don't think they will, but I'd love to know more. I always love learning about stuff like this. But we went ahead and went to sharpen it, and I had to hog so much material off that I couldn't really get the burr to come up without sitting there for an hour and a half, just that 220 grit, that little tiny 220 grit stone on the precision adjust. I could not hog material off fast enough to serve the purposes of the live stream, so I tried something different. I got the Kin Onion belt grinder out, and I just zipped it across on both sides until the burr came up, and my natural hold angle apparently is close to 17 degrees, because after that, the burr was up, it went smoothly. The precision adjust finished the job off. We stropped the daylights out of it, and we started cutting again. And that 18 degree edge, that's 18, not 17. Sorry. I've got the stuff written down. I am getting better data points now, so I'm writing it down as it happens. So 6:30 p.m., we had an edge at 118 on the sharpness tester, and we went, and the cuts were actually good. the cuts were what you'd expect for something like this, for a blade with you know, the thickness, the blade stock, the grind, and all that. The cuts were exactly what we expected. And we went for an hour. At 7:40 p.m., you take away 10 minutes for a break, resting my hand and all that. That wound up being 380 on the sharpness tester. So we went back in and we started pushing, and after another hour, it was at 567. And then our time of death was 9:20 p.m. and we had a 550, and that was 3 hours of cutting. But that 550, this is what the cut started looking like all across the board. Like, these were the last cuts we took with this knife right here at the time of death. It definitely went. So, you know, this is kind of where things, like, I haven't messed with RPM9 before. I mentioned that before. You know, I've handled AR RPM9, but I don't know if that's the same formulation as this is, because I believe the AR RPM9 is one of those things that's proprietary to Kajerb and Artisan. So I'm pretty sure this isn't the exact same steel. And again, it feels like this was engineered to be tough first. It feels like it was engineered to be tough and handle ungodly amounts of stuff. Cutting up linoleum, cutting up, you know, tile, cutting up, hell, shingles. You know, this feels like it was designed to handle very, very, very brutal use. You know, if the knife felt more delicate or it felt more cheaply assembled or something like that, I'd have a lot more negative to say about that. But, you know, I can't really, like, without talking to the people themselves that designed it and know for sure what they were going for, I've got to guess. With the build quality, the function, the carry quality, the day-to-day quality on this thing, I have to assume it was engineered to be very tough and take a very hard beating. You know, even if it wasn't and that was just a little bit of a flub, it's a $30 knife, and I think it's exceptional value for $30. Like I said, that's the heart of the channel, is trying to find stuff like this that's well below $50. It's still awesome. Something that was interesting while we did that, though, is two different guys started counting the cuts and gave it, like, one guy counted, I believe, 400 cuts over the course of about, I think it was an hour and a half, something like that. But like, that was just a part of it, was 400 linear feet of cardboard, give or take. These cuts will average out to about 6 inches if you take into account like the tall panels, the short panels, everything else. And like, I think it was in 1 hour they counted about 400 cuts. It's like 200 feet of cardboard basically. So when I tell y'all I can't keep track of it myself, that's what I mean. So much cardboard gets cut. Like, it goes through a ridiculous amount. So, you know, the 3 hours, it's not where D2 is, but, you know, it doesn't have to be where D2 is. I like D2 for stuff like this, but I would feel very confident taking this into a much more brutal environment and not having any major problems out of it. Maybe rolling the edge a little bit if I do something too crazy, but nothing I can't sharpen back out. You know, I'm not going to worry about the blade snapping or a huge chip popping out or anything like that. So, you know, do with that information what you will. I know some of us don't like the 3 hours of runtime on it. Some of us aren't going to like the 25-degree edge on it. But realistically, just sharpen it to what you want or carry it as is. As is, on that 25-degree edge, all the cuts I needed to make it work happened, and they were quite smooth. One other thing to note is the ergonomics were about a 6.5 out of 10. They did pretty good through a lot of cuts, especially the 32-pound stuff that we feed it. We feed these things 32-pound crush test cardboard the most. That's the most common cardboard you're going to run into, and it's not, you know, it's not anything too crazy. That stuff it cut, it was quite comfortable. Going into the 44-pound stuff, when it starts getting a lot harder to cut, this right here dug into right here a fair amount. It wasn't terrible. Like, it was still way better than a lot of other knives have done. The only way this could have done better is if this the handle was wider. If it was wider right here, it would have taken all the pressure off of that point right there, and it would have felt a lot better. That's the only thing that could have been done better with the ergonomics as far as I can tell. Like, I stopped working with this thing, and my hand was better in a couple of minutes. Like, it wasn't bad. You know, 6.5 out of 10, good ergonomics. So, you know, again, that was an interesting experience. We're going in on a steel I wasn't familiar with. We're going in there with a lot more data points, and I mean, just for fecal matter and laughs, let's take a look at what it tests out now at. Because, you know, that's one of the things I'm still learning. Like, I'm still learning about how the numbers tie in to the amount of damage the cardboard sees. Because at 550, I know we had checked it in a couple of spots, and 550 was at the spot where it did most of the cutting, that first point of contact where the wear is always the worst. And, you know, it's weird that the number will rise and drop. And the cut can get worse while the number goes up. You know, and I mean, still, that 560, it's rolled edge territory. Like, it is definitely beat down, beat down. Let's see what we get here. So we got a 359 there. I said it's a little bit intermittent, and of course, the first point of contact where the worst of the wear is going to be isn't going to be that large. It's not, and I'm going to burn up some more test clips. So we're going to see if a little farther back on the blade gets it, but, you know, so this thing isn't the definitive end-all, be-all, but it does give us some point of reference for this stuff. And again, thank you guys for that. Y'all made this possible. I keep turning it off instead of tearing it. All right, so... yeah, 465. So, like, you move it around just a little bit, and the numbers will change some, and it's really hard to get the exact point of contact where the cut first starts. But it gives you a really good general idea of how worn the edge is, because that 465, or if it was 465 or something like that, it was dull. It was dull. Let's get a piece of paper and do the cut thing on it, because that is the end-all, be-all test for sharpness. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing, is like, I've watched guys that'll go and they'll catch the first little snag on that copy paper and they'll call it, and, you know, here we look for total edge devastation. Like, you have no choice but to sharpen, basically. And I could still do a lot of cuts with that, but, man, they wouldn't be fun. So, you know, I love sharing the results of the Aftermath, the Cardboard Slayer with you. That's what happened with this thing. Overall, I think it's a great knife. Overall, I think it's well worth the $30 you'd spend on it. And overall, I think it's something that you could really wail on with no mercy, and it's going to just ask for more. And if you don't like that angle, you can just sharpen it to the angle you like. But that's all I can think of to say about this thing. So thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in. I appreciate you so much. You have no idea. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We have more giveaways coming in the future, and we got live streams for you and regular videos. There's a lot to do. Comments, I'd love some feedback. Let me know what you think about this thing. If the guy that won his gets it today, let us know what you think about yours. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.